After about 30 nights staying in my new Zpacks shelter, the Hexamid pocket tarp with storm doors, it's time for me to review this thing. I want to share with you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, how I personally set it up, and then take it down, and how to attach the ground sheet assembly kit. So stick around. What else you got to do? Hey, welcome back, hikers, to Follow Bigfoot, where knowledge is our niche to hiking the outdoors. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash it. You know, we talk about everything and anything related to hiking, and we also help you get on the trail, stay on the trail, and get you to wherever your final terminus may be. In August of 2019, Zpacks sent me their new Hexamid pocket tarp with the storm doors. The new part of this tarp is the storm doors that they added to it. The purpose of it was for me to test it out on my FKT attempt of the Superior hiking trail that I set in September. Now, just to be clear, I did not purchase this. Zpacks actually sent me this to try out on my FKT attempt. Now, this pocket tarp is a minimalist pocket tarp. It checks in at 5.2 ounces on Zpacks website, but I actually came up with 5.5 ounces on my own scale. Don't know why the big discrepancy. Pardon this interruption. I have a quick update on the weight of my tarp and why it is off from what is manufactured right now or what you see on Zpacks website. I talked to Matt from Zpacks, did make a modification on a material on that tarp that actually reduced the weight by 0.3 ounces. So that's the reason why there's a discrepancy from my tarp that weighs 5.5 ounces. I actually talked to my buddy Juice Hikes. He's got a YouTube channel. I'll link it below. He actually weighed his tarp and it all matches specs. He got his sometime after mine. So that matches all up with what Matt said. So I wanted to make sure that you had all the facts. Add everything together with the ground sheet. I'm using the solo ground sheet with the assembly kit. Comes in at 9.1 ounces on my scale. Now on Zpacks website, if you add everything up, it should come in at 8.8 ounces. So this is the size of like a softball. You know, compared to a Nalgene bottle, it is about 2/3 the size, maybe a little bit under 2/3 the size of a Nalgene bottle. So this is something that you don't even need to put in your pack. I just throw it in my mesh pocket on my Zpacks Nero. Inside the stuff sack, Zpacks has this measured at 2.5 inches by 4 inches by 5.5 inches tall. I also use the same stuff sack with the ground sheet. It is a tight fit, but I'm coming in about 4 inches wide, which is about the same size, because really there's nowhere else I really can fit this in this stuff sack. But I also come up with about a height of 6 inches, maybe just a tad over 6 inches. All right, let's talk a little bit about dimensions. Now, this thing has a peak height of 47 inches. Now, that is if you pitch it at the 48-inch height that Zpacks recommends. Length, 107 inches, which is 8 foot 11 inches. The width at the center is 54 inches, and then at the two ends is 30 inches. Now the entry height is 29 inches. Just to give you an idea of their Plex series, all their Plex series tents has an entry height of 36 inches. The Hexamid pocket tarp has no bug netting. So this might be a very seasonal shelter for some of you if in the middle of summer you're going somewhere that's really buggy, or you're just going to have to supplement something to be able to be comfortable. Now, setting up this Hexamid pocket tarp can be a little bit tricky. It's a very similar approach of how I pitch my Soplex, which is a version of how I pitch my Duplex. So if you're familiar with that, it's going to be very similar with that. Starting off, I first pitch the two ends that are on the opposite side of the end of where you pitch your storm doors. So once you get those pitched, then I'm going to go and pitch my storm door, which is the most important part of the pitch. This is where you get it right or you get it wrong. The first thing that you want to make sure you do is pitch this at a height of no less than 48 inches. Zpacks recommends 48 inches. I personally pitch mine at 50 inches. I like to have a little bit of extra space, a little bit of extra headroom. Now, this is going to pull up the ceiling of your tarp just a little bit, which means you're going to have a little bit more space between the bottom of the tarp and the grass. So if it's super windy, maybe you don't want to do that. Or if you aren't comfortable with people maybe peeking inside of your tent, again, something to consider, but that's what I do. Whether you pitch it at 48, 50 inches or anything, make sure you get that right, and make sure that you set your trekking pole up pretty vertical. With this pocket tarp, if you don't get that pitch of your trekking pole right, it is going to seem so much smaller than it really is intended to be. So once you figured out which height that you want it at and you got your trekking pole at the right angle, make sure that you pull the tent towards you so it's nice and taut from the two lines that you've already staked out. And you want this thing to look like a triangle. Darwin did a video on how he makes the perfect pitch. That's very similar with that. All you have left to do now is to stake out your storm door. Now, one thing that I do is I use a different stake than the rest of the stakes I use in my tent. I typically have been using the MSR carbon core stakes. With the storm door, I either use the V stake from Zpacks or the MSR groundhog. The MSR groundhog is super strong. It's never going to bend or break unless if you really beat the crap out of it. With the V stake from Zpacks, if you are putting into really rocky ground, it's pretty easy to bend that. So I've been kind of leaning towards the MSR groundhog when I've been pitching this, or when I've been really doing any sort of backpacking, just so I know I have a reliable stake that will stay in the ground. Now, once you get done staking out the storm door, you're going to head to the opposite side of your pocket tarp and stake the back side of your tarp, followed by the front ends. Then you're going to go ahead and wrap up with the remaining two stakeout points, which is really for wind protection. If you're going somewhere, it's not going to be very windy, you really don't have to have it. I always bring the stakes and I always pitch it anyway. There are a total of 8 different pitch points on this tarp. I did pitch this at the Zpacks recommended 48-inch height. Now, if you're going to buy any of the Zpacks ground sheets, there are 6 different places that you're going to attach this ground sheet to the tarp. Now, to attach these things, this is how you're going to do it. Now, first thing that you're going to want to do before you attach this to the ground sheet is put the clip on, slide the clip on all the way up to the adjustable button. After that, you are going to loop it through your ground sheet just like this. After that, you're going to clip to the pocket tarp. And then that adjustable button, you can adjust whatever you see fit. If you want to have your ground sheet a little higher, a little lower, it really depends on what your preference is. Now, you're going to do that for all 6 other points. Now, the one that is a little bit tricky is the one that is in the front that actually attaches to your trekking pole. This is one that you're going to have to detach when you break down your shelter, and you're going to have to reattach when you put it up. Everything else can stay attached. But with the trekking pole, how you attach it is you're going to take your line, you're going to wrap it around, you're going to attach it with the clip, and then you're going to want to adjust the button to, again, whatever adjustment that you feel most comfortable with. Of course, the tighter it is, the more it's going to pull it towards your trekking pole, which is what I personally like, so that I am actually sitting more center underneath the pocket tarp. Now, as you can see here, I got plenty of space in my pocket tarp. I'm 5 foot 8 inches tall, and this is definitely plenty of space for me. I've had some buddies I've hiked with that are well over 6 feet, and they haven't had an issue. I think the tallest person I've seen in the pocket tarp that I've hiked with is about 6'2". Now, once you pitch the storm doors down, you have plenty of room to be able to put your gear. You know, I put my backpack on there, my shoes. You got about 26 inches of space, but it's a pretty good sized vestibule actually, and I've not had any issues with running out of space during any of my hikes these last 9 months. So this is how you take your pocket tarp down. First, you want to make sure you detach that clip that is on your trekking pole. I always forget to do it, so as you can see here, I did that again, so try to get in that habit, but I go ahead and do the storm door first just because I don't want, for some reason, my trekking pole to come unstaked and the end of it to puncture a part of my ground sheet or the tarp. So I always take down my storm door first, get my trekking pole out of there, and then I take all my other stake points out. Now, what I'm going to do is fold the pocket tarp in half. Make sure to try to tuck in all of the line locks except for the storm door line lock. And then I'm going to fold it a few more times until it's about 4 or 5 inches in width. And then I roll it up and I use that long storm door line lock to kind of wrap up my tarp so it is a little bit tighter so it fits easier inside of that mini stuff sack. But again, I recommend going up one size bigger from the mini stuff sack from Zpacks because it is a little tight and it's a little bit of a pain in the rear end, like you can see here with getting it back into that mini stuff sack. Okay, so what do I like? The weight. The weight is phenomenal. I got the space. It doesn't have the bug netting, but it's got everything else I need. Now, the second thing that I love is the compactability. Now, it's the size of a softball. And by the time I get done taking down my tarp. I have everything already in my backpack. It's ready to go. Throwing this thing in the mesh pocket, it fits so conveniently. Third thing is you only need one trekking pole to pitch this. The fourth thing that I love about this pocket tarp is the space to weight ratio. I mean, I feel like I have about as much space as I did in the Zpacks, if not maybe even a little bit more. Fifth is just the versatility that this pocket tarp can have. You can either have it with a ground sheet, or you don't have to use a ground sheet. You can also enhance this by putting some sort of bivy or netting in there. So if you wanted to have a shelter that you can add the bug netting when you needed it during the thick of summer and then take it out and still use the same shelter, you have all of those options to be able to make with this. The price compared to the rest of their shelters, it's about half the price of a duplex. Now, if you do add their ground sheet, you know, it is going to set you back a little bit more money than that. One last update, I promise. In my discussion with Juice last night about the Hexamid pocket tarp, he mentioned something that I did not think about when I actually filmed this video, and I want to make sure I added in what Juice talked about, and I agree with him 100%. This tarp is a perfect blend. It's got the benefits of having an enclosed shelter. So if you're used to the duplex, maybe you have the Zpacks like me before this, and going to the Hexamid pocket tarp, it's got the great protection from weather. So you don't really lose the protection that you get from weather, especially if you couple it up with a ground sheet, but you have the benefit of weight. So it's just a great cross blend between one of their fully enclosed shelters and this tarp, having the weather protection, but having the weight to match it. Now, what do I not like about this? I found 5 things that I can really pick apart. The first thing is this pocket tarp is kind of finicky to set up, especially if you're setting up in the wind. If you don't get the pitch right, if you don't get the angle of the trekking pole just right, it's just the space inside is going to decrease a lot, and you might not know that until you get practice setting this thing up and really get it to the right pitch. Next up, and this is probably my biggest complaint, is the entry height. It is 7 inches lower than the rest of their shelters, what I'm pretty much used to, at 29 inches. It's not an enclosed shelter, obviously. I mean, if it was, it would weigh a lot more. It wouldn't really be a tarp. Now, this last con, really picky again. If you're going to use the ground sheet from Zpacks, you're going to probably want to use a larger size stuff sack. This shelter is made for really minimalists, folks that are probably going to have a base weight somewhere in that 6 pound to 8 pound range. Some folks might find it a big leap going to this pocket tarp. I think it'll be a little bit of an evolution, but it really depends on the person and their experience. What would I change about this pocket tarp? And there's probably just one thing that I would change. If you look at all of the other Plex series tents, their line lock for the storm door is up on the cup, the pitch point that the trekking pole goes into. And on this tent, it's pitched much lower than that, which is why it has a lot lower entry point. I would love for them to make some adjustments to be able to bring that entry height up closer to what I'm used to, what we're used to in the others of the Plex series tents. Now, would I recommend this pocket tarp? I would. I have been really happy with this thing. I brought it on my FKT. It worked out fantastic. I'm going to continue to bring this out with me on the trail. Again, at 9.1 ounces, you just can't beat that. Now, I'm curious though, any of you that have experience with this Hexamid pocket tarp, throw that below in the comments. Would like to hear your thoughts. If you don't have this shelter, you have another shelter that you really like, I'd love to hear what that is and why. Now, Zpacks is running specials on a lot of their different gear. Unfortunately, the Hexamid pocket tarp is not currently one of those things. I have the link for everything I talked about in the description box below. But if you click on the Zpacks link below and it goes to their homepage, they actually have the coupon codes, the promo codes for everything from the Virtus rain jackets to their Plex series tents, bear bagging kits. So if you're on the market for some Zpacks gear, this might be the better time to get it with those discounts that they're running right now. Well, that's all I got for this video. If you found anything in this video to be helpful, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time, whether it's on the trail, here through YouTube, or wherever else our trails connect.